Welcome back to another Overwatch Weekly podcast. It's not really, I think it's been about a week actually, yeah. Doesn't matter, I've already ruined my own intro. I'm not going to redo it anyway. So I can't do any post-production stuff this time around because I don't have time this is the only time period I could actually film this was right now at it was almost 2 a.m. Australian Eastern Daylight Savings Time. So Doctor and I are actually catching our flights I got to leave it to the airport in about 2.5 hours. So this is the only time I can really film this because we'll be too busy this weekend and we want to get a podcast done before the main event so we can preview it all and review the qualifiers. So I'm going to do like all the shout outs to the Discords and everything. So Server 76 and WatchPoint, you can get them all down below. Or all the CyberGamers, sign up there on Tuesday. You can go to the CyberGamer Discord as well. OCEOVERWATCH, check out all the power rankings and you can look at the calendar to see all the events coming from and all the articles that Ronnie and Ben and Polter all post up. So big shout out to those guys. And of course, Full Circle, you can go to their Discord, see all the results. And this Saturday, I don't know what time it starts, but the main event will be this Saturday and Sunday, which we'll be getting into anyway. So big shout out to those guys. And of course, I think that's everyone anyway. I don't think I've missed anyone. Did I miss anyone, Doctor? I don't think I did. No. If I missed you, then you can send me some hate on Discord in a DM or something. But in any case, Let's get stuck into it. Got another 3 guests, of course. We've got Vitannia from Ebin, Sp4rky from Scylla, and of course my casting partner, Doctor. So first of all, let's start with you, Sp4rky. What's going on, mate?
I'm good, buddy. And yourself?
Pretty good. Excited, I guess, is a good way to put it.
Yeah. I've been looking forward to the last 2 days. They've been good watches.
Yeah, the C teams have been good fun to check out all the competition from abroad. And speaking of someone who's recently qualified for ANZ's Summer Series, which is Vitannia, what's going on, mate?
Not too much. It's been a rough 2 weeks, but we finally proved through in the qualifier at the end.
In the wild cards, mate. But you did it. You're there. And of course, my casting partner and coach of the Fusion Girls. What's going on, Doctor?
Pretty good. Gonna stay up late tonight, finish packing and getting ready for Summer Series and going over.
Yep. So we're meeting up at the Auckland airport. So it's going to be good fun. But before we think about flying across to the Full Circle studio, let's talk. We had CyberGamer. There wasn't really too much to talk about. It was basically Monopoly Club took everything out. They were the only like mid plus tier team that signed up. I think we had 1000 Degree Knife and
us, Bobby.
Yeah, we had us. We put a team together. We made it to the final.
Mixed match.
Couldn't drag my ass all the way through to a final victory. So shout out to Monopoly Club. That was good fun, and everyone else who signed up to CG. I think we ended up with 6 teams, so it was all right. I suppose everyone's preparing for the Summer Series. Everyone's got a lot on their minds to do with the coming weeks, which we will get into now. So we had the 4 qualifiers for ANZ over the course of the past 2 weeks, which the teams that qualified were 1018, MA Larkers, Ebin, Mastermind, Scylla, 1000 Degree Knife, Default, Jam Gaming, Love Shack, Monopoly Club, Diffuse, Fusion Girls, Academy Wolfblade, Soulgrave Train. I don't know where I got training from.
Soul Gravy Train, yeah.
Soul Gravy Train. That's it. Tempo Storm and Yes Men. So that's everything from ANZ Overwatch. So we've got Scylla, a member here from Scylla and a member from Ebin. So you guys obviously played in the qualifiers. I want to get your thoughts first of all, Vitannia. You played in every qualifier. You got through in the wildcards in the end. How do you feel the whole event went the past 2 weeks?
Like my experience personally with my team?
Yes.
Yes. So we started off the first qualifier with a very quick win, although we did then drop the ball and we went 1-3, ultimately leading to us not making it in the first qualifier because we did drop 1 too many maps. This then led on to the next day, the second qualifier, where we didn't do too hot either because we were still stuck in the very tilty mindset we had from yesterday, the day before, sorry. And we had the whole week to recover, talk about our problems, do some scrims and all that, and we came back in the third qualifier relatively strong. Unfortunately, we did lose again one too many maps, which we could have won. Um, and I was feeling very dejected, like very down. But in the end, in the wildcard qualifier, we did manage to pull through and uh, take the spot in the group.
So there's also Scylla that qualified. You guys went 8-0 in the first qualifier. Do you feel like you guys should have been in a qualifier at all, going 8-0? Do you think you should have been invited? What were your thoughts on the qualifiers, Sp4rky?
Well, we all know that if 5 teams were going to get invited, we would have got. But we're not too bad about it. We played it. We loved. It's more practice for us, and we've only been a team for now almost 2 months and a bit. Any extra time we get to play in a tournament setting is amazing because we actually get to test our skills. Where our scrims are not as they're a little bit more relaxed than a tournament setting. But every game we played, we took it 100%, and we absolutely loved it. Some very, very close games against a lot of the ANZ teams, and we absolutely loved it. Getting smashed on some, and getting very close on some maps, but amazing time overall.
So now, Doctor, we've got the 3 groups ready to go now with the C games that are done and dusted. So let's take a look at each group. Or do you want to talk about the C games today? Do you feel like we should brush over them and before we start diving into our group predictions and our thoughts on the groups? Do you want to talk about
I think
this?
one of the big things to mention is just the team that came out of the top. Unestablished Juniors was pretty unexpected team, and we were sort of talking Babong Me and Avalon Tempo they were my guesses to be one of the top teams. Babong Me was more of what I was thinking, and Avalon Tempo I hadn't seen, so I was just assuming that they'd do reasonably well. They actually came out, I think, 7th, so only just making it in reality, and it sort of got shaken up in a bit to what was really expected, which was quite interesting.
And then also with the other teams, Alacrity came through, like White Fang and the Wanderers. I think you were mentioning, another team to look out for. So we all thought like Babong Me and Avalon Tempo were the 2 teams to look out for. Even the casters on air were talking about those teams to look out, and we were telling them like, put some of their games on stream, It's going to be awesome. And we didn't end up seeing Avalon Tempo until Babong Me into the last round. We thought those 2 teams would be clashing earlier on with undefeated streaks, but turns out to be Unestablished Juniors who, surprised everyone. They went 10-0, so one of those teams to look out for. So it was exciting to watch the C teams with 10 rounds the past 2 nights. But we do have our groups established now. The first group will be played this Saturday. It will be 10-18, Babong Me, Ebin, MA Lakers, or Lakers, however you want to pronounce it, Masterminds, Maneski, Scylla Esports, and the Wanderer. And both of you guys here are in the same group. So let's get everyone's thoughts on the groups. You first, Vitannia. How do you feel about being in Group A?
First when I saw the groups, I was very scared because I've scrimmed Masterminds and Scylla Esports when I was on a different team, of course, not when I was on Ebin, but the Masterminds and Scylla are very, very strong, and those 2 teams are teams like I feel like Ebin will have a very hard time winning maps against, and so I felt like we weren't gonna do very well. And with the addition of Bong Mi as well and Mineski, a team that I've previously versed as well on the in Group A, I feel like this is going to be a very hard group for Ebin, my team.
What about another team? Say like we've got MA Larker, so Sp4rky, you've got Vitannia's thoughts now. He's saying that your team is one of the more difficult teams then. You've got Mastermind, so I, in my opinion, the second and third best teams in the region. So you've also got MA Lakers, who a lot of people are rating, especially Apudo. Everyone's got their eyes on him, and you got Babong Mi, who went 8-2 or 7-3 today in the qualifiers. And then you've got Ebin, of course. So how do you feel about Group A?
Well, we've obviously not been doing very well against Masterminds in the last couple of CGs. But when we got into the group and we got with Masterminds, we're like, okay, this should be interesting. But we were mostly worried about the Southeast Asia teams because we didn't know anything about them. We've only scrimmed one Southeast Asia team that unfortunately didn't make it through the qualifiers today. I think it's a strong group, and I'm quite happy that we're in a tough group because it will put everyone's thinking hats on and it will make everyone play to their 100% and their fullest, and I'm really looking forward to this. AMA Lacus, we've played them quite a few times, and they've been really strong. Apotu does carry their team a lot for them. And, well, haven't really played Ebin much. And 1018, we played them a little bit. But we were looking at BobbyJ throughout the day, and today and yesterday. They're a little shaky, but they came through with victories. And we're just hoping we can pull through and get a good result for us and maybe make it through. We'll see.
Doctor, what are your thoughts on Group A? And let's start getting some predictions as well. So first of all, give us your thoughts and then predict what two teams that you think will make it out of Group A.
One thing that I actually do love about Group A is the fact that both Scylla and Masterminds are both in that group. People view them as second and third or in that top four pretty much. And they've sort of had this bit of a rivalry, I think, in my eyes, of a couple of CGs that have gone up against each other. They've had a couple of matches against each other in the past. And I'm really looking forward to the opportunity to have them in the same group. Whether they do face off against each other could be, I'm not sure, depending on how seeding works. They could end up on opposite sides of the bracket and never see each other. But just having them in the same bracket makes it a little bit interesting for me. The rest of the team, seeing BobbyJ in there is quite interesting. I've seen them play fair bit lately. Been watching a couple of their VODs when they played against Fusion Girls a couple of weeks ago now. Been keeping an eye on them. Really looking forward to seeing how well they perform on Australian servers, and with that ping disadvantage is the thing we keep going back to. Is I think they've got potential. It really comes down to their adaptation along with all the other teams in the other groups. Prediction-wise, or the other teams in the group, MA Larkers, 1018, Ebin, I think a couple of those teams can very easily take games off each other. So not too sure which one will come out on top of those teams, but I do think the most likely two teams to go through will be Scylla and Masterminds. The only reason I don't think we'll see BobbyJ go through comes down to, I think, Scylla and Masterminds are very strong teams, and seeing the way they play, I think the ping and the latency will affect a couple of the star players on BobbyJ a little bit too much. And just Masterminds and Scylla are both very, very strong teams, so that'd be my top two picks to go through Group A. And
then over to you, Vitannia, your two picks.
Yep, I would also pick Scylla and Masterminds purely because I've had experience playing in SEA tournaments as well while I was in Alter Ego, and the play style is very, very different. There's some things you cannot do, and that affects you mentally. And when you play over a long period of time on high ping servers, it will affect your gameplay. And so I don't think BobbyJ is gonna make it very far compared to Masterminds and Scylla.
What about you, Sp4rky? Your two teams.
You can never say your own team is one to go through because you always jinx it. So I don't want to, but unfortunately I might have to. Masterminds have obviously been our rival for.
Unfortunately, your team has to go through.
Well, Masterminds have been our rival, and they are a very tough team to fight. I think it most likely will be dependent. It's now just a case of, I think, which one will be in the losers bracket and which one will be in the upper bracket. But I'm looking forward. I'm looking forward to this weekend. But Mastermind for sure. But the other one, it depends on who turns up on the day.
Well, this is what I've been saying to other people. It depends on how well they adapt with bangs. I know a lot of their success comes from Jordan. It's the Jordan and Deg show, and Aaron and Bim are very comfortable. It looks like they got a lot more comfortable with Bim shot calling. I remember earlier on he was a lot more shaky, wasn't as confident, but he's really fallen quite well into that role, and he's a lot more confident now. And ever since Aaron got his PC sorted, no more disconnects. You can see the difference when they've got 6 players consistently playing, that no one drops out. But they've got a very good side. I think with Stoltz now on the hit scan, he's finally, he's a lot more confident on that role. When they got, I know Doctor was mentioning this to me. I think maybe Xenox as well. We always spoke about that Stoltz is very similar to Degs. They have pretty much the same hero pool. I may be wrong, but I thought they were very similar with Projectile. I think they both had Projectile picks. Like they could play Genji and Pharah, I think. No. Degs
both of them had the
Pharah.
Genji. Both of them had the Genji.
And the Tracer.
About that is where it starts to split off a bit after
yeah,
that.
I suppose.
They're both very talented players, though.
I didn't know who was going to play, like, who's going to play what at the time. But now that they've had Stoltz, he's been playing hit scan for quite a while. It's the team's obviously they're performing. They've won several CGs now, and they're always up the top. They're either in the finals or the semi-finals, no matter what competition they're playing in nowadays. So, and KS1 is one of the bigger pickups, being on the main tank, playing the big boy Reinhardt, or he could be on the Winston. And I think with the loss of KS1 and being in the recent form, he was one of the better Reinhardts in the scene. I think that I don't know if Bangs, that's big shoes for him to fill. And knowing that your Reinhardt is such a great player like KS1, you don't need to. I don't know. I feel like the synergy might be different for the rest of the team, because like KS1's always going to deliver, and he's not going to screw up any ultis, and he's usually shielding most Earth Shatters on his team. He does a very good job. Yep. So I don't know, because I don't know the same results. It's going to be hard for me, because I could see them tilting. I know, like in the past, like they've had tilting issues. Nowadays, not so much. They've definitely matured as a team, but it's going to be about if they can adapt with Bangs early on. I think if they have problems, and say problems especially in the first game, and they get knocked straight out of the first round and they go to losers bracket, might be a long day. It might be a very short day for them. I was going to say a long day, but it'll be a short day, and you could see someone like MA Larkus come through, or maybe even Bobong. So I can't even decide between MA Larkus and Masterminds, because I haven't watched any of their scrims. They didn't play in the qualifiers, so it's been several weeks since we've seen them. They didn't play in CG this week, so we didn't. And the CGs they did play in, they were using KS1, so we never actually got to see Bangs. Maybe you guys have a better understanding. You might have played them in scrims with Bangs. I've tried to get some info, I guess, for my own knowledge, so when I jump on the cast this weekend. But that's the big questions around them. If we see them, they look like the same masterminds in the first round, then I'm gonna say like they'll make it through either first or second. But if you see problems come through in that first game, it's gonna be difficult for them. But that's just my thoughts. Anyone else got any thoughts on Group A before we move on to B?
I actually have some thoughts on Masterminds.
Yep.
We just scrimmed them a couple of hours ago. And Ebin, my team, had scrimmed them.
Yep.
And we had a realization that they didn't have much luck playing on 2CP. They completely fell apart. They couldn't do anything together as a team. But when they were on the payload maps, they did very, very well. And on payload, it didn't seem like Bangs had it didn't seem like Bangs was the sub. It felt like he was integrated in the team when they were playing payload. But on that 2CP, they were very, very shaky. So you might have to watch out for when they play 2CP.
He's just giving a lot of teams some help now in the veto, mate. with that knowledge.
I'm not saying anything.
That could be an interesting thing, because a lot of Australian teams have a lot of history being really shaky on 2CP. Masterminds and I think Jam were two of the teams that have been putting a lot of work into 2CP. So to see that sort of change from them, a bit interesting. I think overall with Bangs coming in, I think it actually might come down to more how he plays the Winston than Ryan, I think, because Masterminds love to bring out the dive. it's well known. Degs plays Pharah. He kills the enemy team. It's about right. And I think it'll really come down, in my eyes, how well he plays like on attacks, on payloads with the Winston, because he's the guy that has to make space for his team. And Chaos One was a damn good Winston. I've seen Bangs around. He's been around in the community for a while. He's played on a couple of teams. I think he has the potential definitely to do it. It's just proving that, in my eyes, I think would be absolutely amazing if he can step into the big shoes that are Chaos Ones.
Yeah. And then let's go to Group B. So 1000 Degree Knife, Avalon Tempo, Default, Jam Gaming, Love Shack, Monopoly Club, Established Juniors, who are the number 1 seed, and White Fang Esports. So this was originally before any of the C teams qualified. Everyone was going like, oh, this is the group of life. And they were saying Group A is the group of death. So we got the group of life now. We've covered the group of death. Not so much the group of life, I suppose, with unestablished juniors. There's not much the big advantage they have is there's not much details on them. Like you can't really find any VODs unless you probably start digging and asking people from the Southeast Asian region. But you know, if you look at other teams such as Babong and Avalon Tempo that everyone was rating, especially Babong, there's VODs out there of them even versing Fusion Girls. So there's public VODs available on those teams, whereas it's kind of scary thinking about established juniors. The only footage you really have is them playing in this qualifier. They went 10-0 and they look pretty comfortable. So I suppose, like, I know teams have already got their eye on them. So that's going to be an interesting factor going into Group B. So back over to you now, Sp4rky. What are your thoughts about Group B on playing on Sunday?
Yeah, like you said, at first it seemed like, okay, they got a nice, comfortable group. But now seeing the C teams that got in, it's going to be a fun one to watch. I'm looking forward to Sunday's games. Monopoly, we've played them so much, and they are such a strong team. And they are a good team to play against, and we love playing against them. Yeah, that looks like a tough group now, apart from obviously Group C, but B's looking pretty good now. So I'm looking forward to those.
Any other teams that you can point out have the potential to get through? What ones would you be keeping your eye on? So
I'd be keeping my eye on Love Shack. Obviously for day one, unfortunately, not all of their roster turned up, unfortunately. So hold on, composing myself. Yeah, so I'm keeping an eye on Love Shack and Monopoly and unestablished juniors. They might have done well against SEA teams. I weren't quite sure where the servers were hosted on for the scrims tonight, for the games tonight, if they were hosted on Singapore or if they were hosted on Oz.
Singapore.
It was Singapore. Okay.
Yeah.
Then it's now down to how they'll handle ping. We played in a couple of NA tournaments, and ping affects you quite a lot, more than what you would normally think. So I'm looking forward to that, and I'll be keeping an eye on Monopoly and Unestablished. Those are the ones I'm looking at.
And then your thoughts on Group B, Vitannia?
So my first pick obviously would be Jam Gaming. I don't see them dropping maps to anyone except maybe unestablished juniors. I don't know too much about them, so we'll have to find out on the day. But unestablished juniors have been very, very dominant in the SEA qualifiers, and if they can translate that into onto like Australian servers, like I'm seeing them being able to take that second spot, or maybe even the first spot as well. Monopoly Club is one of those teams that I would say can upset every other. Monopoly Club is one of those teams I can see upsetting Jam Gaming. I'm not too sure about Love Shack though. Love Shack, I feel like they haven't tapped into their full potential yet. They're missing a few things that I've seen when playing against them and watching them play as well. So if they can fix some of those issues that I've been seeing before, they can definitely also take that second spot. But yeah, Love Shack and Monopoly Club for me are those two teams to watch out for in Group B.
And of course, Doctor, your thoughts on Group B?
I think Jam Gaming are just too consistent to think that they'll lose out in that group. They've got one of the longest standing lineups in the scene at the moment, so there's a huge advantage that they have. They've had such a long time together. Haven't seen a whole lot of them. I've seen a little bit here and there. I do expect them to come out on top. I think Love Shack and Monopoly both sort of tie for me on that second spot. Um, Maybe with an unestablished juniors. Monopoly Club, in my eyes, have had some of the absolutely splendidly amazing games coming out from them with huge plays from a couple of players like Signed or Gob. Um, just they come out with something absolutely huge, but then sometimes on a map they really fall apart, and I think that shows. Even though they've been a roster that's been around for a little bit, they've had a couple of change ups reasonably recently, and they have big highs and big lows. So they could, on a good, if they get off to a good start, I think they definitely could qualify. And unestablished juniors, I think there is a very prevalent fact of it's very obvious who are the strong players on their team. Tao, I think it's Tao something, and Yuki are very strong players on that team. And if they get shut down by Australian teams that have really analysed the footage and really understanding how they play in the past 2 days, they could really shut them down on just that little bit higher ping.
Yeah, so my thoughts on Group B. So I just hear someone's door. It's all good, mate. I was thinking, I was going to make a joke about Igo. He has to wake up in time for Love Shack to be able to compete. But I'm going to leave that. That was being beat to death over and over. But I think looking at the track record of Love Shack when it comes to when it comes to double elimination tournaments, they've done quite well. So the past ESLs, they've done fairly well. They made it to the grand final. They actually knocked out Fusion Girls, aka Jam, back then. Even though it was a completely different team, this is months ago, but they're definitely used to playing long days. And Monopoly Club, we haven't really seen them play in a double elim sort of style. I think they may have played in an ESL. They could probably correct me if I'm wrong, but I know it's like probably a bit of a different team now. They've got new additions, but it's a lot longer of a day. You're playing BO3s in a double elim format, a lot more pressure, and if the further the day go, the longer you stay in, the more fatigued you get. So that's why I could really rate a team like Love Shack, and I could rate a team like Jam Gaming, because Jam, as you're mentioning, 6 long-standing players. They've been in plenty of double elim tournaments, plenty of long days. They've been practicing a lot. They're ready to go. I would be very surprised if Jam Gaming don't qualify, just because I feel like they can handle the pressure, and I feel like they can handle how long the day will be, because it's all going to come down to a lot of these teams like Established Juniors, Monopoly Club, Love Shack, Jam. I feel like it's out of those 4. I feel like 1K and Default, they're just not there yet. Avalon Tempo had disappointing qualifiers. I don't think they're ready yet. So those 4 teams, I see them getting knocked out the first half of the day, and it's going to be down to these 4. And there's going to be about White Fang's there as well. I didn't rate them as highly either, but sorry if you're from White Fang, you're listening. Sorry if you felt like it was BM. It wasn't meant to be. But those 4 teams, when it comes down to the length, if you've been through several BO3s, you've probably seen maybe another team play on stream as well, maybe saw their videos. You know a little bit more about those teams, and it comes down to the final end and how if you've been on tilt yet or not. I'm going to say Jam Gaming, they'll make it through. Monopoly, they've got some young players. It's going to be very difficult for them coming into the last stages of those BO3s. I think we might see them just miss out. And then it's going to come down to unestablished juniors and Love Shack. And it'll be about, can Love Shack figure out, or can those other 3 teams figure out, how to shut down those 2 DPS players from unestablished juniors. I feel like, man, that would be a tough one. That's the hard one. I feel like Jam will go in out of those OCE teams, but I don't know. If I had to say like 2 teams, I'm probably going to go with Jam Gaming and unestablished juniors. I feel that they're going to... It'll be a bit different going into the finals because there'll be more footage on unestablished juniors, but I feel like they'll surprise some teams and people won't be as prepared for their play style. and I think they'll make it through, and we'll see probably Jam and Unestablished. But that's my thoughts. It's time for the rest of you guys to pick your two teams. You first, Doctor, and we'll go back around to Sp4rky.
Two teams in Group B. I think consistency just favors Jam so much there. And second team, it's a toss-up between Love Shack and Monopoly Club for me, just because I don't know how Unestablished Junior is going to do. They've played recently. They can be analysed. If the teams are smart, they'll just go in and just watch the VODs and really work them out. Love Shack or Monopoly Club, I think just with how Monopoly Club's been playing lately, I think if they have a good day tomorrow, I think in the main event and they're really coming through, Monopoly Club could really bring their A game, and they have a very high possibility to get in that second spot, I think.
And then you, Vit?
Yeah. I would take Jam to be in one of those top two teams. I honestly feel like Unestablished Juniors would take the second spot though, unless Love Shack and or Monopoly Club step up their game and like completely blow everyone else out of the water. I feel like Unestablished Juniors could take it because of how dominant their performance was in the qualifier.
Yeah, and you finally Sp4rky as well?
Yeah, it's a tough choice. Depending on how Unestablished Juniors end up doing it, or how converting ping into how they played in the Singapore servers, I think they would definitely be my second place. And because I've played against Monopoly a lot, and they're one of the teams that can struggle against us, I'm going to say Monopoly for first and Unestablished Juniors for second.
So that's Monopoly coming up from you. So it's probably it's one of those groups that are very close to call. Like, we had about 3 teams that were tossing up on Group A. Oh no, we had 4 as well. I suppose there's always like 4 teams to break it down, but I feel like these 4 teams are very closely matched, and it could be any of those 4 making it through Group B. So best of luck to everyone in Group B. But it's time to move on to Group C now, which will also be played on Sunday. And we've got First Esports, Defuse, Fusion Girls, Akami Wolfblade, Soul Gravy Train, Team Alacrity, Tempo Storm, and Yes Men. So another difficult group here, and taking a look at C has the OCE juggernaut, which is Fusion Girls. So they've won everything they've been a part of as of late. So they're 12th on Gosu Gamers. So I feel like everyone's picked them as the favourites to win this competition, but we've seen them get knocked out of double elim before into the losers bracket, but they've never been beaten in the losers bracket in any double elim that I have watched in the past 3 or 4 months. So they have a very good track record in double elimination tournaments. So first of all, before we get predictions, thoughts on Group C, starting with you, Sp4rky. What are your thoughts?
That's a tough group for everyone other than Fusion Girls, which is a bit of a problem. We all know Fusion Girls are obviously favourites to go through this for the group stages. It's now just whoever's going to be second. I've got a couple of friends in First Esports, because from where I played from the Philippines, I met quite a few of the guys who are actually in it already. So I played with them quite a bit, and they are really strong players. But like the same for Unestablished Juniors, it's all down to how they can handle the ping. There's some really strong teams in there. Tempo, Yes Men. That's a tough group. I'm kind of glad that we're not in that, but that is a very tough group right there.
Yes, it would be fun going up against Fusion Girls, of course. Everyone knows that they're being tipped. But let's go with you, Vitannia. Your thoughts in Group C before we go with predictions.
Fusion. I feel like Fusion Girls are just going to be very comfortable going into this group. There are a lot of teams that I feel can take maps off each other like really easily. Unfortunately, I do not know how Tempo Storm has been playing, and there's the situation with money as well, where I'm not too sure what's going on there as well. They're having some internal issues or something, and so I don't know if Tempo Storm can step up and do well. but I'm definitely looking forward to seeing how this group plays out.
And then you, of course, Doctor.
I think there's no disputing Fusion Girls should have a very easy ride through any group. I think they're pretty confident. They're pretty certain of how well they're going to do in this group. They're actually watching some of the other groups, I'd say, primarily to see what the other teams play, and they'll be watching the other groups really there. The rest of the teams in that group, Tempo Storm, Yes Men would be the two teams that I know the most about in that group. Tempo Storm, unfortunately, with their recent changes, I'm not really sure where to put them. Money was a very star player in my eyes. He was a very solid, talented individual player. Unfortunately, things not working out with him on Tempo. So how they adapt to that will be the biggest test of time for them in that group. Yes Men, very solid team, very new team though, so a lot of stuff they've got to work on. They do make a few mistakes here and there when I've been watching them. I think it's one of those groups that second spot, just with all the recent changes and shakeups, I think could go quite a few different ways in that group for that, just behind Fusion Girls there, really.
I actually think this is the group of life, is Group C. Then hear me out on this. The other ones are so contested that you could see. We named off at least 4 teams that could make it through, yeah? So Group C, we named Fusion Girls, correct? So we all tipped them to come through number 1 in Group C. Then, who was number 2? You've said Tempo's got some roster problems. They might be able to sort that out. Yes Men have looked pretty good recently. They've got some talent on that side. And as you were mentioning, Sp4rky First Esports is another team to look at. We've got Okami Wolfblade. You could take maps off those teams as well. And same with Soul Gravy Train. They can take maps off them as well. So there's at least 5 other teams, other than Fusion Girls, that could potentially make it through to the finals. I feel like there's more life in that group than the other groups for other teams. They come into that second spot. So you coming in second is going to be a lot tougher going up against one of those other groups that have the first place team. But that's how I feel. And I will tip Fusion Girls to come in as first. And then second, I think being a double elim tournament, and it's going to be a longer day, the team with the most experience there, with the most with their players, is Tempo Storm. Sorry, I'm trying not to sneeze right now. But I think Tempo Storm will end up coming through second. They've got Termo's been a player for a long time. Same with Revs. Mosh, he's a fantastic Reinhardt. And you've still got Soundwaves and elim, and then you've got. It does suck that they won't have money for this tournament, but they've got Solus and Lush that they've played with throughout the past couple of weeks. And I feel like there's enough talent and experience on that team to come through in second. It'll be a rough day for them. I don't think it's going to be smooth for them at all. But I feel like just knowing that the experience they have on that team, I feel they could push through the day. And that's my 2 teams. Over to you, Doctor. Give us 2 teams.
Fusion Girls. And I think actually Tempo, again, like you, Mosh does Mosh things, and no matter what you do, that won't change. So even though Money, yes, he was a very strong player, the rest of them are still the same, and they've got a very solid play style. They play around Mosh quite well. So I think even if you swapped one player on their team, I think they'll still play the same way, and that's very coordinated, very consistent. So I'd give that to them to come out second.
Fit, 2 teams from you.
Yep, so Fusion Girls is team number 1, and I'm actually going to go with Yes Men for team number 2. I feel like Yes Men could easily beat any other team on that list except Fusion Girls. They might have a harder time beating Fusion Girls, but I feel like Yes Men could easily take that second spot, depending on how Tempo Storm play on the day.
And Sp4rky, of course. You last but not least, 2 teams.
Well, do I go? Well, let's not say Fusion Girls then. Well, we all know. Well, yeah, Fusion Girls got 1, so that's just by default. I totally forgot Team Alacrity are actually in there as well, and they proved quite well over these last 2 days. They went 7-3.
Mm-hmm.
So it's another team where it's down to consistency and down to ping. This is where everything was to play for. If they can bring ping, how they've been playing has actually been really well. And seeing how Tempo, I wouldn't say they're a new lineup, but they've had changes quite a lot. But they've been playing an awful lot. I don't know, it's a tough one. I'm going to go between Tempo and Alacrity will be the my second spot.
So
all dependent on ping.
So yeah, but mentioning Alacrity, that's another team that opens it wide up. So the only team I can say I don't think will qualify is Diffuse. Just they're new, they're unproven, still developing, not ready for this, not ready for some of the big juggernauts in this tournament. You saw like what happened with Tree Men. Like they started off slow, and they eventually they were molded into what we see now as Monopoly Club and potential to make it through into the final 6. So with time, even a team like Diffuse, they'll have their time to shine later on if they keep sticking at it. It's all about being consistent and improving. But that's the groups pretty much reviewed. So let's give our thoughts on, there'll be 6 teams in the finals. So we've already predicted which teams will make it out of groups. So we'll start predicting what 4 teams will make it out of the finals. So let's talk about, for people that don't know, this is how the finals will work out. So it's 25th and 26th of February, the following weekend after the main event. So the top 2 teams from each group will qualify through. And everyone will be playing in a round robin. So everyone's going to play each other once, and it will all be best of 3 games. That is on the Saturday. The 4 teams with the best result, so the best score, will move on to the Sunday in a single elimination bracket. All games will be best of 5. All games I assume, will be streamed, so 3 BO5 games, which will be awesome. And I assume they'll be seeded based on your performance in the round robin stage on that Saturday. So let's get our thoughts on the final stage, what we all expect on the Saturday and the Sunday. But just predictions. I know it's like another weekend away, but it's something to think about, and think about what 4 teams we will see in the finals. So you first, Sp4rky. We'll go back around. What are your thoughts on the final series, and who are the 4 teams that you predict to make it through?
Well, with the teams that we've all predicted, a lot of the ones we've not really seen them play because they all got invited. The only ones we saw us play was us. And those weren't the greatest games that we played at the first couple too. I don't know. It's going to be a difficult thing to see who will take into the top 4. Depending on how we play for the weekend, is dependent on how we get to the final. So let's say we do really well and we make it. I feel with the top 4 teams that will go through, we've got a high degree to go into the top 4. Depending on how everything goes and how we play. Obviously, we see Fusion Girls up there. I think that just goes without saying by now. I don't know. It's a difficult one to see until this weekend.
Mm-hmm.
Like if we do this next week, I would have a better understanding of how everything will go. I see Fusion Girls going forward to the top 4. Depending on who goes through into the top 6, it's just anyone's real guess. Masterminds, if they can play with bangs properly. I don't know. There's no. I can't put any word on the top 4 surefire things until I see really everyone play all together in the group stages.
Vitannia, your 4 and your thoughts on the finals?
It is very hard because there are a lot of teams here that I knew about, but I haven't seen play in quite a while. Like teams such as Tempo Storm and Jam and Masterminds. I haven't seen results from them in like quite a while because they haven't played in the qualifiers. But Fusion Girls would obviously be there in the top 4 for me. I don't think they would. They would at least make the top 6, in my opinion, and they have a high chance of making top 4. Scylla Esports would be another one that I would consider, as they They've done really well for themselves. They had a dominant qualifier, going 8-0 in the first qualifier, and I only see them, going harder after that because of the effect it has on someone to feel that they've won every single game in the qualifier and qualified as first seed in the qualifiers. I'm really keeping an eye on unestablished juniors. I really feel like they could take that one of the top 4 spots, but then again, with the ping issues and all that, it might affect their playing style. It might affect how their DPS plays, and they could completely crash and burn. But if I had to choose, I would choose unestablished juniors. And for the last team, I would would have to be a mix-up between Jam and Masterminds. I feel like those two teams are very, very strong. Masterminds is very explosive. Jam is very consistent. I can see any one of those two making it into top 4.
And then you, of course, Doctor?
Fusion Girls through. I don't think there's much chance that they get knocked out before the final series at all. I see Scylla going through. After that, I'd be probably picking Masterminds. Even though they are swapping one player, I think, with the bit of extra practice they've been practicing a fair bit with Baines, I believe, at the moment. I think Chaos One's actually been around while Baines has been there, so I think there is a high lot of potential that they do make it through, especially just with how the groups have sorted themselves out, and they'll definitely make it to the top 6. Top 4 really comes down to how they match up against unestablished juniors, I think. I think Mastermind should still make top 4. After that, for me, it's a toss-up for that last spot between Tempo, Jam, and unestablished. That could go anywhere in my eyes. I think unestablished juniors, we always talk about the ping. It's the only factor, I think, that really could stop them making top 4. Tempo and Jam, I don't know which one of those teams will pull out on top of each other at the moment, just because the change-up with Tempo, I think a little bit before the change-ups for Tempo, I think they're a little bit stronger than Jam. With the recent changes, I think that's going to put them a little bit behind. So could be very other things. So Fusion Girls, Scylla, Masterminds, either Jam or Unestablished then for the last spot.
I'm going to go with Fusion Girls are going to get knocked out and they're not going to make it through the BS3 Saturday.
Yep.
No.
Not making it.
No. They'll make it through. So, of course, they're just going to want to do something different, I guess. But Fusion Girls come through number 1. And then I feel Scylla I think you guys will be pretty comfortable in that group and make it through. I feel like what Vit said, going 8-0, I think that does a lot for your confidence, and especially with a big day ahead of this, you will be coming in a very good seed. You won't verse someone like Masterminds, MA Larkus, or Babong Me early on, so I think you'll get a good win, pretty clean 2-0 in the first round, and then you'll continue that momentum, and I feel you guys going into a BO3 set up on that Saturday, you'll be pretty comfortable. Any times I've seen you lose is like a general one-off, maybe like a BO1 in CyberGamer, or to Masterminds, which that's no shame in losing the Masterminds. They're great. They're a great side. So I feel you guys will make it through the BO3 stage on the finals on the Saturday. So it'll be Fusion and Scylla. Then someone from Group B. As I was mentioning, there's my 2 picks were Jam and Unestablished Juniors to make it through. So we've already mentioned the ping problems for Unestablished Juniors that they'll be facing. I think there'll be enough footage on them at that point that teams could work them out. And with that ping difference, I think there's enough time for someone to figure them out and move through. And that'll be either one of those teams from Group B that could be from OCE, so either Jam or Monopoly Club or Love Shack, but my pick was Jam, so I'll have to stay with Jam, and obviously Jam there. So that's those 3 teams. Last team is the difficult one, because we've mentioned Bangs. If Masterminds have a very good run and there's no issues with Bangs, they'll be my 4th team. If they do have issues with Bangs, you could probably see another team from, I reckon it'd be the other team from Group B, either Unestablished Juniors, Monopoly Club, or Love Shack. Be one of those teams, and that will be your 4. But like I said, if Masterminds make it through groups, it means everything is probably pretty good with Bangs, because that is a bit of a difficult Group A. And that means if they make it through Group A, I see them making it to the Final 4, because they're one of those teams that move pretty forward with momentum. When they lose pretty hard, and it's like they go down crashing and burning, and they go through like that week of reassessing things and then moving forward, and they always become back stronger. That's always been that their team, how they've worked. It's like breaking a bone, but then it heals and it becomes stronger. That's the way their teams worked, and it's worked out well for them. They haven't kicked any members. They've always learned and moved forward. So, well, they've moved members, but as in they've kept the same 6 for quite a long time, and then the whole philosophy was always about improving and not trying to avoid kicking players. So that's kind of like where my thoughts are at. I think it's when we get down to the BO5s on that Sunday, man, that's going to be tough to verse someone like Fusion Girls. See, the big bonus that Fusion Girls have is that you've got RQD and Gumbar, who have other teams have spreadsheets, but these two guys, you're having 2 guys that are essentially analysts. They could work as even an analyst caster. These guys break down a lot of stuff, and you got 2 minds on the one team. And now they've snagged Doctor from Scylla, so you've got the coach as well. You've got 3 people you've got 3 people, and they've got Serenity as well. So make it 4. They've got 4 people that are going to be looking out on all these teams, and by the time you get to BO5s, it's going to be very difficult to break Fusion Girls in a best of 5. Because even when they do get knocked out of double limbs, they always come back strong, and I see them going into the grand final. You're going to have to pull out some crazy shit in the grand final if you want to beat Fusion Girls, because I feel like that's where you catch them. That's when we've seen them lose, like they have lost to something they haven't really prepared for, because they're one of those teams that prepare for whatever they see coming from each team. They'll prepare for every team that they've got their eye on. So if you pull out something they haven't prepared for, that's when you're going to catch them off guard. But by the time you get into a BO5, even if they drop a map, they're going to readjust and they're going to be fine. They'll catch you out. It's going to be very hard to win 3 maps against them. I could see maybe like 2 maps in a BO3, but a BO5, man, that's tough. And I see them pulling on strong in the grand final. But man, there's some sick prize money. So even if you come second, you're still getting some really nice money. But $6,000 for first. That's each player's getting 1,000 each, unless they're throwing you some money, Doctor. But
No, I said nothing.
So $6,000. So man, that's a lot to play for. I'm happy that we've got like a lot of BO3s on that Saturday, guys, and then BO5s. We're really going to grind out the best team out of that system, because with $6,000, if we just had, I don't know, if we had that opportunity that there's some sort of RNG factor or some sort of upset, it would be kind of, I don't know, if not getting the best team winning would be a little bit of a letdown with $6,000 on the table. But at least we have all this, we have the system in place that the best team is going to walk away with $6,000. How do you guys feel about the prizes being separated? How do you guys feel about $6,000 for first? Anyone jump in and talk about it?
It's a weird percentage. Most tournaments normally do 50% or less, and then they split it up a lot more even. But it's a nice amount. It obviously makes it a nice amount for first place. But yeah, it's a nice prize pool. So I'm looking forward to that. Third is what? Second is 3K, and then third and fourth is 1K each, wasn't it? Yeah.
Still very nice. 3,000 for. So no, isn't it 2K? Isn't it 2K for second?
Yeah, 2K for second, and it's 1K each for third and fourth.
Yeah.
Because that makes 10.
Because that'd be 10K.
Yes.
Yeah, maths.
So it's still quite nice. I'd probably like to see just 5K for first and then 3K for second. That would be. But I suppose they want to split it off 1,000 each for each player, 6 players. So
Yeah, maybe that's how I thought of it.
I get why they would want to make it 6,000, so everyone
Yeah.
evenly gets $1,000. So you look at it. I'm playing because as a player, you'd be like, okay, I'm going to win $1,000. That's what everyone's thinking, rather than I'm going to win $6,000. It's like I'm going to win $1,000. So, that's motivation to play for. An extra $1,000 in your bank is quite handy, especially if most players are in their either late teens or in their 20s. $1,000 is going to definitely help you out. So, I'm really happy with the prize pool and the system they've put in place. I'm glad that they took the time to listen. The admins took the time to listen to everyone and made it so every game in the group stages, the main event to the round robin in the finals are all going to be BO3, and then we're going to have BO5s in a single limb bracket. I feel like if they did BO3s in a single limb bracket, it'd be a bit shaky. Like there'd be room there for people to complain in a BO3 in a single limb bracket with 4 teams because there's no second chances. But with BO5s, you always have that chance to come back. Like there's more of a chance. I feel like it's a safer option, and you have the time to stream 3 BO5 games throughout that day. It's going to be pretty fun once you get up to those 4 teams. Well, it's going to be fun the whole way through. Like each group's going to be cool. The only like drawback I have or kickback from this main event is the only nitpick I can make is that Group C and B are going to be on the same day, and we're not going to be able to see we're going to miss some awesome games. Because, say, Fusion and Tempo are playing, what happens if they're playing at the same time as Jam and Love Shack? We're going to miss out on, a BO3 of...
You'll see Fusion versus Tempo. You won't see the Love Shack Jam game.
Yeah, so...
if they're at the same time.
Exactly. And, like, I want to see both of those games. There's going to be games you're going to miss out on, and... because we know... I guess it's like, maybe it's not as bad for the viewers, I suppose, but, as us, we're all players. We're all part of this community. Well, not all players. I'm not a player, but as in we all know each other in this community, so we want to know what happens in these games because we know there's a lot more riding on it now, and we want to see who wins and who loses. I wish I could probably just see all the games. Okay, if I had that option, that'd be cool, and we could just cast for like weeks. That'd be fun. But that's not
8
the
hours a
reality.
day. Yeah,
that's not the reality.
4 days
of the
in a row.
situation. So. I don't know. How do you guys feel about the format and how things have been for Full Circle? I'll start with you. Maybe like Doctor and I can't talk about it. I suppose we probably share our opinion, I guess, but I want to hear it from you guys, Sp4rky and Vit. So start with you, Sp4rky. How do you feel about the whole, tournament from Full Circle as a whole?
As a whole, it's been pretty good. We've enjoyed the draft bans where we get 5 maps, you ban 1, they ban 1. And you're left with 1 left after everyone bans 2. We like that more than picking maps. 1, it's quicker, especially compared to TG.
Mm-hmm.
And 2, it forces us onto maps that we haven't really played that much. And it forces us to really, really try. We can get some maps that we played a lot, but a lot of the times we ended up on a couple of the 2 CPs and some really interesting maps that we've only really played once or twice. Hopefully the draft stays through to the best of 3s and best of 5s. I haven't seen any confirmation on that, but I'm going to imagine that's how it's going to work. Unless they give us set maps and that's what we play. But overall, it's been really, really good. It's something, because we're a new team. This is our first real tournament, and I'm really enjoying it. It's really good.
And then you, Vit?
Yeah, so, well, this tournament is like a massive step in the Australian scene for tournaments, for esports tournaments. Like the prize pool is $1,000, especially for Overwatch. Like this is the first big prize pool for an Australian Overwatch, the Australian Overwatch scene. So I think that already is pretty awesome. I like that they have put in. It's a little confusing. But I like how they have put in different types of modes into like the qualifiers and like the weeding out of the other teams, if you know what I mean.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's not just one straight, I don't know, double elimination or like a group stage into like a double elimination. There's actually a lot more games played. and which brings out the tournament even more.
Yeah.
My
Definitely makes it
explaining
more
is not
special.
very. Yeah, my explaining is not very good, but I hope you understand it.
Yeah.
But yeah, the only quarry I have with them is the stream, with the delays and the s- sometimes the camera angles on the games are not very good. As there were some games where like the player had, oh sorry, the camera was on the player, on a player that was going to make a big play, and then it immediately moved off that player while he was making that play. Stuff like that. It's mainly about the stream that that I have problems with. But
Yeah.
overall, the um the tournament has been more than satisfactory.
And what about you, Vit? Vit, you just talked a bit. It's getting late now. I'm screwed once I get to the airport. I swear I'm gonna like fall
You're
asleep on
bored.
a chair, and I'm missing my flight. With you, Doctor, what are your thoughts?
Overall, I've enjoyed it. I've enjoyed just the 2 games that I actually just got to cast. Never thought I'd be actually getting a chance to commentate one of the qualifier matches, and then got to do 2 on a day. That was just great to get in, even though we've been sitting online and wasn't originally going to be doing it. So that was absolutely a great opportunity. Absolutely enjoyed it. Really looking forward to going down there. On the whole event, I've been really happy with just how they had the 3 qualifiers and they had the wild cards. They've had the 2 seed, they've had the 10 rounds. Going into it, especially as well with the 6 teams that come out at the end of the main event and how that's being done. Very happy with that, because one thing with the sheer amount of games that are going to be played and with the double elim and all the best of 3s, you are going to come out at the end of the day with the outright best team and the most consistent team, no matter what. I think just with the sheer volume of maps that you'll have to play, especially with best of 5s at the end, you're going to have such a wide pool of maps, and that's just going to really favour teams that have been around longer, particularly. They usually have a much deeper map pool, and just, as I said before, the best team's going to come out at the end. For me personally, that makes me think Fusion Girls. I'm a bit biased there, but really looking forward to the end, because I think, yes, we favour Fusion Girls quite heavily. I think on a really good day, if somehow Fusion Girls have a really bad day and then another team has a really good day, I think there's a chance that we actually see a couple maps get taken off Fusion Girls towards the end. With enough maps there, they might get one of their better maps and somehow pick up one of Fusion Girls' weaker maps. So I don't know if you'll see any teams take anything off them, but I'd be really pleased to see a team at least take a couple of maps off them by the end.
He wants to see his team lose, so you heard it here.
At least a map. They won't lose a series. I think just losing a map would just...
You just want to have the joy of grilling them in Discord later on.
It'd be very interesting
100%.
to see how they react to losing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they, like I've mentioned
That's
before,
possible.
they deal pretty well with losing. They come back well from losing. I don't know what the comms are like. There's probably Gumba and screaming at people. And like, what the fuck did you do that? You retarded? Like, so I imagine it's something along those lines. I don't know.
No.
They all love each other though. Like even, it's just the way competitive environments are. Like, yeah, I don't know. I'm just assuming. But I just wanted to mention a few things about the tournament. Like number one, like we were very I'm very thankful for the opportunity it's given us as casters, even though you guys haven't seen us really cast that much lately, but early on, all the way back in mid last year, I spoke to Sp4rky about casting, which was then Heroes League, but I had ties with Gamester at the time. And even all the way back then, he was supportive of me. And the first conversation I had with him, he was like, "Yeah, man, would love to get you involved." And he didn't really know where I was at as a caster then, but he's still willing to like have give me a chance. And that's the toughest thing when even as a player, like being able to break into a team, or for like a caster, being able to break into like a production team. For people to take a chance on you, because I got to know I had a whole bunch when I first said I wanted to cast Overwatch. I remember doing like Winter Watch with Fugs. I wanted to do that. I got knocked back for 2 casters from StarCraft too, which is fair enough. Like, I had nothing really proven. I casted like Counter-Strike ages ago, and when I started casting Overwatch for GameStar, who took a chance on me, so I have to, definitely pay my respects to them. But I was trash to begin with, so still a bit trash now, but definitely come a lot further from when I originally started. And so even like halfway through last year, these guys still gave me their time of day, and not a lot of people do that for each other. We're the ones, they got a lot more to lose than what we have. So we screw up, our name's not really out there. No one really gives a shit about us. So if we screw up, you're going to be forgotten about anyway. So it doesn't matter. But they'll get remembered for having the shit casters. We won't get remembered for being shit because our names are unknown at that point. So that's like really cool on them, and they stayed in contact with us for months, and they knew a whole about my ordeal with GameStar, and they were always supportive of me becoming a caster. And then there's not, I've been casting since the beginning of May, and I'm already getting the opportunity to fly to another country to cast and get paid to cast, like for a tournament. Like that's amazing. Like we never thought of like that would be so soon. And we always like amongst us, like ourselves, we'd always talk about like how we want to break into like the Overwatch League and be casting under Blizzard and doing all this cool stuff. And it's been less than a year for all of us as like the group of 4 of us that stuck together since the spring series with Doctor and myself, and of course Xenox and Genome. This is really cool for us, and we can't thank them enough for giving us this opportunity and being able to fly across. And I know it sucks that some of the teams are really looking forward to a LAN and everyone being together in New Zealand, and that's unfortunate. But we still have an awesome stream that's going to be put together. A lot of us from Australia are going to join forces with the NZ crew. It's going to be like a really good time, and being able to put this money into our pockets to help us live our dreams. It's amazing. Not many people do that for you. So being able to grind every week, doing like CGs and some ESLs here and there, like just knowing that all the time and effort you put into something definitely pays off. So which I wanted to use this as the segue to talk about. Some people on the stream give some of the casters for Full Circle some grief. Not all of you do it, but there are some out there. And I don't know if that's because you're used to us casting, because when everything went to shit in the scene, we are the ones who stuck around. So I'm thankful for all the people who have said our names in the stream, in the chat, saying like where we're at. But most of the time, like if we're not casting, like it's not because they didn't want us casting. It's because of technical issues having to put a live feed through Mumble so that we could hear everything on their end, and then they could hear us through Mumble and have it come through crystal clear on stream. So they were very cut short with that, so it was very difficult to have us on the first weekend, and it's just easier not to have any issues and having delays for a lot of teams. Because imagine if they're trying to have us on the cast, and then there's delays for all these teams, so 20-something plus ANZ teams, and there was a delay because they want to get one of the casters from Australia to get in on it, when we could just push through and not worry about the technical difficulties with that. So that's why we got on the second weekend, and that was fine on the Saturday. We didn't really have any problems. Everything was quite smooth. Everyone was happy. Everyone got 2 games each, all the casters involved. And then on the Sunday, there was only 3 BO3 games. So we actually told them, don't worry about having us on because a duo is going to miss out. A duo is going to miss out, and it was just easier that that all the Aussies would just miss out and just have the guys in the studio. It was a lot easier. So that's actually why we weren't on. We actually said don't have us, and it would just be a lot smoother on their end. And then Southeast Asia, of course, we had that mishap where none of us were really, besides Doctor, he's the only one using Mudfish, so it kept making the...
Good program.
The program. So he's the only one with the program to make it, to fix his routing. So the rest of us would cause the server to go to AU. And you don't have time in that Swiss format. You're against the clock to finish. It's like, you think they're 3 hours ahead. If it finishes 1 a.m. here or 1:30, that's like 4 a.m. over there. So they're against the clock. They can't waste much time. And it was like we would have to go get Mudfish and get set up, and that's going to take time. We have to purchase things and get everyone's accounts done. It's just a lot easier to throw us, just get us out and just have these guys casting. And then we had the option to get Mudfish and then cast on the Sunday. Today. What was that, Sunday? So it's Thursday, sorry. Cast today, but we actually said, don't worry about it. It's only one day. It's 5 BO1s. Just get through it. And that's just to let you guys know that it was us that kind of decided for most of the part that we weren't going to be on the majority of the qualifiers to make things easier, because we're getting a big opportunity to cast plenty of games in the main event and through the finals. So I know that was a bit of a rant for people to listen to, but I just wanted to get that out because I didn't want to talk about anything during the actual event. I just wanted to steer clear of any discussions, but that's just to clear things up for any of you guys that had questions about why we weren't casting as much and why we only did like 2 BO1s essentially. That was pretty much it. And for all the casters that get grief from NZ, I know that you guys must, maybe it's because I've just mentioned before that we casted a lot during the dire days of there wasn't much going on, and we were there for CG and everything. But
Dark days.
Be there for these guys too. You don't understand. Like, of course, like we know the teams and the players because we spend time with you in Discord, and we've been casting this consistently every week. But these guys are, are talented, and they've put their time and effort into this too. So if you've got something that you want to help them with, then don't try and trash people in Twitch chat, because it might be fun to just talk shit, I guess, amongst yourselves. But these guys are there to try and help you and entertain you. So if you want the stream to be better, send them PMs or do what like other people have done and go to the Full Circle Discord when they were displeased with there were going to be some BO1s in the group stages and the main event, and they got that changed. They listened to you guys and they changed it. So if you've got problems with like a way someone casts, the way they're delivering something on stream, then let them know. Like, don't say anything in Twitch, because I'm not going to look back through 8 hours of footage just to see a fucking comment. Like, it's stupid. You just gotta complain, but no one's gonna listen to you. Like, that's about it. Like, I might see some stuff because I'm watching, but the casters aren't going to look back through 8 hours of footage on Twitch. They can just look through the VOD on YouTube and stream that in 1080p or whatever. Just send someone a PM. That's what people would do for me, and I know lots of people help me out every week when I'm casting. So I know that was a bit of a sorry that took probably almost 15 minutes to vent, or 10 minutes, but I know that you guys showed me respect every week, and along with the other casters, just try your best to do the same for everyone from NZ, because they've always been very friendly to us and helped us a lot. So that's about it. I don't know if you guys have anything to add on to my rant, but if you do, add it on now, and then we'll quickly change the topic.
Well, those casters have done an amazing job. It's the first time I've officially seen them, because I'm relatively new to the ANZ scene, and they've done an amazing job, and it's been really good to watch them.
Does any of you boys got anything to add on, or we'll move on?
Yeah, well, I mean, people are always gonna love the casters that they are comfortable with. It's the same with every sport/esport. When new casters come in, casters who are slowly getting into the scene, people are always gonna criticize and talk shit about them. And yeah, it happened to you, Bobby, when you started as well. Like, you told me about the story where you casted one of a game, like your first game or something, and then everyone started like talking crap about you in Twitch chat or something.
Yeah.
I mean, it's gonna happen, but hopefully these casters, these newer casters, are gonna pull through it, and eventually they're gonna be on the same level as you guys.
Yeah. That will earn everyone's trust and respect. I think most people generally would be happy listening to the stream. It's just the few that voice themselves are usually the ones that...
There's a very loud minority.
Yeah.
There's a very loud group of a very small amount of people. So the reality is you've got 300 people in there, roughly. Think about nearly 300 people tonight. well, last night even, and you got maybe 10, 15 people complaining. There's a better way if you want to give feedback, really. As BobbyJ pointed out, go to the Discord. Like, they didn't actually get to look at the comments even. Yes, Twitch chat will be Twitch chat, but if you actually want to give feedback, I love feedback. To give them feedback, I'm sure they'll be absolutely happy to hear anything.
Yeah. We'll move on from that subject. Is there anything, because I do have to go leave in just over an hour and a bit. Is there anything you guys want to talk about before we wrap things up?
Have we talked about the power rankings that came out?
No, we didn't. Do you want to take us through the power rankings, Vit?
Okay, I can go down the list then.
Yeah.
So number 1 is Fusion Girls. Number 2 is Masterminds GC. Number 3 is Scylla Esports. Number 4 is Temper Storm. Number 5 is Jam Gaming. Number 6 is Monopoly Club. Number 7 is Yes Men. 8 Love Shack. 9 MA Lockers. 10 1018. And I think this list from 1 to 7 is pretty spot on. Obviously the last 3 teams and maybe a couple of others down the list as well could like, easily take maps off each other, stuff like that. It's but overall I think this ranking is pretty accurate. Yeah.
Anyone else got something to add on to the power rankings?
The only thing I'd add is the big change of minds that I saw was Masterminds overtaking Scylla. They've just shown once again their consistency. Been around for so long. They've fluctuated a little bit on the power rankings, but now they've made second place. I think they're going to actually be a team that sticks there for quite a while. Depending on Bangs and KS1 coming back, I think they're a team that's going to be looking to be very consistent, always sticking, I think, in the top 3. And it really comes down to Scylla whether they can take that back off them. I think those 2 teams actually might get a bit of a switcheroo every now and again. So overall, I think, yeah, this power ranking is up to 7. Pretty solid to be there. After that, as Bit said, there's a lot of teams that can actually start taking maps off each other.
What about you, Sp4rky? Any thoughts on the power rankings?
Yeah, bit of a, obviously, Masterminds have now overtaken us because our last 2 CGs. But yep, coming up to this weekend, we'll see where everything really places in. Mm-hmm. Yeah, the lineup, how everything is, I can see here. That's why I would vote as well.
Yeah, when I looked at this power rankings, because they didn't really verse each other. Most of those teams didn't verse each other too much outside of Summer Series, so I kind of just took it as it was pretty much almost the same as the previous, I guess, with the addition of a couple of teams added on at the bottom of the top 10. And once you see the end of the Summer Series, once it's all completed, you'll be able to rank teams a lot more clearer on the top 10, and we'll be able to move forward into the future. But let's is there anything else you guys want to bring up? Anything on anyone's mind they want to vent in front of the listeners?
Nothing from me.
No, I'm pretty much done.
Well, we'll wrap up here. I'm sorry if this is a little bit shorter than other weeks, but we really wanted to get through it. Really wanted to talk about the Summer Series and what was on the stuff I wanted to vent to everyone. So big thank you to everyone who's been listening to the podcast and helping it grow each and every week and supporting our scene. So big thumbs up to you all. Love hearing and all the feedback and thank yous and stuff. That stuff's always awesome. Helps me moving on. It helps me move forward and motivates me. But also a bigger thank you to the 3 right here. So coming on late tonight. I know some of you probably especially you, Vit and Sp4rky, that you want to go to bed and have some rest. So big thank you to both of you. Start off with you, Sp4rky. Any shout outs before you get some shut eye?
Yeah, I got a little bit of a shout out here. I wrote a nice little list. So obviously, shout out to Scylla, who believes in us and picked us up. Shout out to my Mr. Scarlight, who's always been keeping my tea filled during all of our scrims. Shout out to Doctor, for putting us together, pushing us hard enough, and making us be the team that we are now, and showing us that we are as good as we think we are. Obviously, a belated birthday to Project. He had a birthday yesterday, which is now 2 days ago. And looking forward to the groups this weekend.
It's going to be awesome. What about you, Vit?
Yeah, well, I have to say shout outs to my team Ebin. They're a bunch of silly sausages, but I enjoy playing with them. They're a lot of fun to play with. um, Regardless of the fact that they do some really weird stuff and say a lot of weird things, especially in the one podcast that you did have taken down. They are.
No, don't mention it, because now I'm going to hear about it. Oh, every week. I try to move forward every week and not get someone to mention that fucking podcasting and ask for it. I've told you all several times. You'll get it like a private screen. I'm not fucking uploading it, so don't ask me again. Now I've just said that, I'm going to get... My inbox is going to be fucking full. Thanks.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. And yeah, a shout out to the Scylla boys. I have fun talking and playing with them. Especially Saf, he makes my life like a living hell. Shout out to like the Love Shack Discord as well. Like Love Shack Discord filled with multiple players, multiple teams, like nearly every night, just
It's good.
playing games, watching OGN, all that stuff keeps me occupied. And
It's good.
yeah, that's it.
And then last but not least, of course, is Doctor of the ANZ Overwatch scene. What's going on? And no, I just like threw you like I was it's gonna stop. I'm losing it.
And welcome to the cast.
I'm losing it. All right, do your shout outs.
Yeah, firstly, shout out to Fusion Girls. It's actually been an absolutely amazing experience in the past few weeks that I've actually been there with them. They're an absolutely amazing team and really look forward to working with them in the future. Shout out to my boys back at Scylla. Unfortunately, I couldn't hang around forever. Would love to be everywhere at once, but can't always. But absolutely love my boys at Scylla. As well, I'd love to give a shout out to Love Shack. It's an absolutely great Discord to go and hang in late at night, probably 2, 3 a.m. Usually is when it gets a bit quiet. Actually, shout out to Defuse as well. They're a team that I tried to help out early on. I had to jump off pretty quickly because this is about the time that I actually moved to Fusion Girls. And they've actually qualified and they're actually playing in Group C against Fusion Girls. So good best of luck to them. Really looking forward to seeing them play, especially. And over as last one, shout out to Full Circle Esports. Really looking forward to the main event and the finals. Absolutely great opportunity and really looking forward to seeing who pulls out in the end. Hoping Fusion Girls, but you never know.
It's going to be exciting times, so we'll catch all you motherfuckers later. We've got a flight to catch. I'll see you all on Saturday. You can clip my stupid face and have fun memeing me in the Twitch chat. I'll see you all Saturday. Peace.